In my case, I work in the hospitality industry. My restaurant is positioned on a lodge, so we're there in total lockdown. There's no clientele or anything, so for the moment I'm, so to say, out of work. There's say a week or two in a month when the resources start getting low. The kids will eat a loaf of bread in a day, they'll swipe it off. When there is no bread, I'll eat 2 slices of bread instead of the 4 that I would normally eat, so that they can have for themselves. Keeping food on the table and the roof over our heads is basically the most important thing.
White River, Mpumalanga. Extreme hunger and poverty aren't new to the region in the province, but the COVID-19 lockdown has exacerbated all of this. Lack of transportation, job and income losses, and one of the most prominent, the lack of government help through school feeding schemes have led to desperation for many.
They don't even get bread or something or eat in the mornings, you know. Now I got pension, but I got no money. And everything, when you buy a bread, it's always double the price. So we just have to buy because the children. And I must take my HIV pills. I also have to eat. I can prove it, there's it inside. I need to eat. And every time I go to clinic, they keep on saying I'm stressing. I must eat, I must eat. It's too much. If I wasn't there, what should happen to the kids or so? I'm the one that's standing and helping, and they're all looking at me, mother and grandmother.
André Hattingh, who is the founder of Pediatric Care Africa, has noticed the negative side effects of the pause of school feeding schemes.
A lot of the children, especially the smaller ones, the toddlers and so on, they rely on the schools for feeding. In a lot of the cases, that's the only main meal that they have. So when the schools are closed, the feeding also stopped, which means that their main meal, the main substance, is actually basically just taken away from them. And it has not been replaced. Must remember, almost 40% of South Africans are unemployed. They rely to a great extent on feeding schemes to feed the children. And a lot of the times what I've noticed is the children actually take some bread home to the siblings at home, and they only eat the soup or whatever, and then the rest of the food they actually try and take home to the parents. So it is critical. The reality of it is food is medicine. You are what you eat, and if you do not eat, you are not. We'll be seeing an enormous increase in malnourished children, and not just small quantities. We're not talking about 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 children. We're talking about masses of children that basically their food supply has been taken away from them completely.
Section 27 and the Equal Education Law Centre have been at the forefront of the battle to get government to continue feeding schemes in the most vulnerable communities, despite the COVID-19 lockdown. A North Gauteng High Court victory for the organisations means government has been ordered to restart feeding schemes by July 27, 2020. The order stands regardless of whether or not learners have returned to school. In the meantime, people like Hattingh will continue to help thousands of desperate families in Mpumalanga.
We used to have 350 children every month, only once a month. Now we do 500 families twice a month. And we actually have to show people a way. We just do not have the capability of feeding any more people. Right, we have some donors which is kind enough to help us, and then of course the rest we have to unfortunately buy.
Dr Hattingh says there are dire long-term implications of having food shortages in the area.
You are having a whole generation almost of people that is lethargic. They have brain development issues, they have physical developmental issues, they have psychological issues. So there's a very big possibility that we can actually create a whole generation of COVID hunger people in South Africa.
It's not difficult to accept charity, though it's difficult to be reliant on it. And at this time, I can honestly say that we pretty much are reliant on the food parcels and the assistance and help.